I had a scientist tell me one day that the largest experiment ever perpetrated on mankind without their permission was hydrogenated fats. And I really wasn't clear about, what he was referring about. And just to clarify that for all of you, trans fats are man-made. And basically, if you want to clog your arteries, one of my writers here said just dial 1-800-TRANS-FAT. One of the problems that evolved from trans fats is that your body can't get rid of them, and they have a very difficult time moving them through. And so consequently, we've seen statistics that are almost mind-boggling, from 30,000 coronary artery disease deaths a year contributed to by trans fats, to up to 200,000 heart attacks that can be attributed to the use of trans fats in our food.
You'll find it in anything from French fries and chicken tenders to cookies and other baked goods.
And now many people want to delete trans fat from their diets. 49 News reporter Craig Gold tells us whether Kansas has any plans to keep it away. Craig?
Yeah, if you've eaten any food that lists partially hydrogenated oil as an ingredient, then you know it has trans fat. A dietitian we spoke to today says that no amount of trans fat is really safe. Consumers now know about this and are demanding change. It's cheap, it makes foods taste good, and it gives them a longer shelf life. At one point, trans fat was even thought to be a healthier alternative to other cooking fats. But health experts have known for years now the artery clogging consequences that come along with it.
What it actually does is raise your LDL, your bad cholesterol, and lowers your HDL, which is your good cholesterol.
Trans fats are found everywhere, from the crust at your local pizzeria to the high-end restaurants that serve breads, pastries, and desserts. Foods that are fried or often contain partially hydrogenated vegetable oil, or trans fats. It's estimated that the average person eats about 6 grams of trans fat a day, almost 5 pounds a year.
We're eating about 2.5 to 3 times more trans fat than is recommended.
While trans fat might make your food taste better and last longer, it is not healthy.
Saturated fats and trans fats both tend to raise the bad cholesterol. And we certainly know that people with higher levels of bad cholesterol appear to have more heart disease and stroke.
Some researchers are claiming that there are as many as 50,000 premature deaths each year linked to eating trans fat. As trans fat is removed from the cooking products, it's being replaced by other healthier oils like canola and safflower.
Trans fat comes from a mixture of vegetable oil and hydrogen gas. Hydrogenated oil is cheaper and lasts a lot longer than other cooking oils.
Calorie for calorie, trans fat is the worst thing that's in our food supply.
Experts estimate trans fat kills 30,000 Americans a year. The government says consumers should limit their intake to no more than 2 grams of trans fat per day and eliminate it completely if possible.
To many, trans fatty foods like French fries and cookies seem harmless because they're perceived as being a part of Americana. The consequences, doctors say, are real.
Trans fats really are a very concerning aspect to the current American diet.
Dr. Scott Miller is a San Diego area board-certified plastic surgeon who has performed thousands of body contouring procedures on patients who try to deal with the after effects of eating too much of a bad thing.
Not only do they cause high cholesterol, plaque accumulation in the arteries and subsequent heart disease, potential for heart attack and stroke, but they also create an addiction to that taste and that flavor. These high trans fat foods are so much a part of the way we're raised that when you look at some of these foods we grew up with packed in our lunches every day, it's hard to see them as something bad.
Trans fat is very desirable to the food industry because it helps keep foods fresher for a longer period of time. But these same chemical properties also make trans fat quite unhealthy. Studies show that eating trans fat increases cholesterol levels. And now new research links it to an increased risk of heart disease in women. In a study of around 500 nurses, doctors actually measured the amount of trans fat in the women's bloodstream. They found that compared to women who had the lowest levels of trans fat in their blood, women with the highest levels had 3 times the risk of heart disease. Many manufacturers and restaurants are removing trans fat from their products, and a recent law requires that packaged food be labeled for trans fat so people can know what they're eating.
Consumers should be aware that not all products have trans fat on the label yet.
Because of increased pressure from the public, some restaurants have parted ways with their trans fat loaded cooking oils. But if the dangers have been known, why has it taken so long?
No one's forced them. But now, the consumers, want to be healthy.
Some wouldn't mind if restaurants statewide took a page out of the KFC and Wendy's playbook by eliminating trans fat themselves.
Whether it's fried, grilled, or baked, 24,000 New York City fast food, dine-in, and takeout restaurants must phase out artery-clogging trans fats by July 2007. It is the first city in the country to ban artificial trans fat oils. Bakeries and donut makers will have until July 2008 to make the switch. Some restaurant owners and advocates who oppose the ban say the government is going too far in the name of health. Other eateries voluntarily changed to healthy cooking oils before the ban. Last month, Kentucky Fried Chicken joined the ranks of other nationwide chains like Ruby Tuesdays and Chili's, announcing it would phase out hydrogenated oils at all of its franchises. Fast food giant McDonald's is still testing out alternative oils, but with the new ban, the Golden Arches will have to be trans fat free in New York City by summer.
Trans fats have replaced saturated fats as the worst type of fat. They increase the risk of stroke and coronary heart disease, which claims the lives of 500,000 people a year, with ever-increasing numbers being women. The Comprehensive Nurses Health Study reports that trans fats can double the risk of heart disease in women. Even worse, trans fats not only raise total cholesterol levels, but they also deplete good cholesterol, HDLs, that help protect the body from disease. So why are these dangerous ingredients put in our food? Quite simply, profit. They're a cheaper ingredient to use, and they taste good. Food manufacturers utilize trans fats to achieve a longer shelf life for their products. Some processed foods, like cookies and crackers, can stay on the shelves for years, due in part to trans fats. So with this in mind, the FDA requirement to disclose trans fats on labeling seems like a very important thing. But there's something very wrong. The problem with the FDA regulation is that 0 does not equal 0. Food manufacturers are allowed to label products as having 0 grams trans fats, even when the products actually contain the harmful ingredient. According to the FDA rule, if a single serving contains a reportable amount of trans fat, which is 0.5 grams or more, then it must list the amount on the supplement facts panel. This means that shoppers everywhere unknowingly consume a multitude of products that list 0 grams trans fats, when each product could contain nearly half a gram of trans fat per serving. This can add up in a hurry, and it can add up to trouble for your health. So when you plan your next meal, follow these guidelines to avoid trans fat in your diet. Shop the perimeter of the grocery store. Fresh fruits, vegetables. Choose items in their whole food form with the least processing. Avoid fast food such as fried chicken, biscuits, French fries, and anything fast food establishments cook with oil or lard. Avoid processed foods like crackers, most cookies, and baked goods. Read ingredient labels. The ingredient list still discloses the truth if you know what you're looking for. If the ingredients include any type of hydrogenated or partially hydrogenated oils, that product contains some amount of trans fat. So read the labels on everything you buy and avoid any product that contains hydrogenated or partially hydrogenated oil. Taking the time to make a small change in the way you shop can make a big change in the health of your family.